program, Dr. P. Ananthan, Assistant Professor from Anai College of Arts and Science, Kumbikenam, Tamil Nadu, was the resource person. Dr. Ananthan deliberated on Value Education and National Education Policy 2020. He explained that value-based education is essential for the all-round development of the students. It gives positive direction to them to shape their future and even helps them to know the purpose of their life. Sir also expressed deep concern that today the whole world is facing the value crisis. Students are getting more tolerance, understanding, protection of human rights, and conservation of the environment. Sir also explained National Education Policy 2020 provides to inculcate in the curriculum ethical reasoning, traditional Indian values, and all basic human and constitutional values that are seva, ahimsa, swachhta, safety, nishkam karma. Also explained various components of value education that are character education, health education, environmental education, early childhood education, professional education, and financing education. Dr. Ananthan summed up by saying, education is a public service and must not be a commercial activity or a source of profit. Really, it was a wonderful session by Dr. Ananthan. Now, for the 2 day session, we have a great personality with us. It is a matter of great privilege for me to introduce today's resource person. She is Dr. Mandeep Kochar, Vice Principal Universities Affairs, HSNC University, Mumbai. She is going to deliberate on interlinking school education with teacher education. Now I request to Principal Dr. Tripta Parmarji to formally welcome our today's resource person. Over to Dr. Tripta Parmar.
Thank you, Mrs. Rita. I take it my prime privilege to welcome you all to the online 7 days faculty development program being organized by Sant Darbara Singh College of Education for Women, Lugo, District Moga, in collaboration with SD College Hoshiarpur, Guru Ramdas B.Ed College Jalalabad, Himalaya University Uttarakhand, Pace, Punjab Chhattisgarh. I extend my warm welcome to today's resource person, Dr. Mandeep Kaur Kochar. Dr. Mandeep Kaur Kochar is Vice Principal, University Affairs, HSNC, Mumbai. She is Coordinator of Diploma in Early Childhood Education course at BTTC since 2004. She is recognized research guide. She has conducted various workshops and seminars for university research and educational journals. She has conducted 2 minor research projects sponsored by Mumbai University. She is also divinity teacher to the school children of Army and Navy community. Today she will be deliberating on interlinking school education with teacher education. I very humbly invite Dr. Mandeep Kochar to deliver her lecture. Over to ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Tripta, and it's my privilege to address to the community of teachers from 5 renowned institutions. I'm so glad to know that 5 institutions have collaborated together and from different states. So it's going to be really wonderful audience. So much for this opportunity given to me. And I must say the topic also is so apt, and it is such a need-based, you can say, the topic which you have chosen for this FDP. And I am glad to be participating as a resource person in this FDP for the upcoming buddy educators. teacher educators, because the time is now in their hands. As national education policy is going to get implemented, as we are going to proceed in these years, these the budding educators, they have to take the policy in their hands, which I keep saying in number of my discourses, that people who have written the policy are not going to implement it. It's only the teacher educators who will have to shoulder this responsibility for the success of the implementation of this policy. So I request, allow me to share my PowerPoint presentation, which I have prepared for the participants for today. So just a moment. Can you all see the presentation? No, it's not.
No, ma'am, it's not visible.
Yes, just a moment. There is nothing much. I think there has to be one share button, and I have been using Google Meet.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Gurpreet?
The share thing is not getting green when I'm.
मैडम ਨੂੰ ਅਲਾਉ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਏਗਾ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਸ਼ੇਅਰਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਧਰੋਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਮ
ਕਰੋ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਲਾਉ ਕਰੋ ਨਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਦਾ ਬਟਨ ਆਏਗਾ
Share is not becoming green actually.
Ma'am, just a minute. हो गया गुरप्रीत?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਮ ਡਨ
Check, ma'am.
Gurpreet, I'm going to my share, where the small arrow is there, and then I'm going to.
ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਮੈਮ ਹਲੇ
ਹਾਂਜੀ, I've already opened my window also, and I've already opened the.
ਮੈਮ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਅਲਾਉ ਕਰਤਾ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਇੱਕ ਐਰੋ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਾਈਨ
ਮੈਡਮ ਨੂੰ ਕੋ-ਹੋਸਟ ਦੇਖੋ ਮੈਡਮ ਨੂੰ ਕੋ-ਹੋਸਟ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਮ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਮ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਮਨਦੀਪ ਮੈਮ ਹੈਲੋ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ 1 ਮਿੰਟ 1 ਮਿੰਟ ਜਸਟ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
Gurpreet, share button. Okay, 1 minute.
ਹਾਂਜੀ मैम डन
मैडम दिख रहा हो गया मैम योर स्क्रीन इज विजिबल
हाँ जी 1 मिनट Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ जी okay okay thank you so much. Okay, thank you for this inconvenience for 2-3 minutes. I just wish to share, the interlinking with the school education, and I actually have taken BTTC as my college as the case study. There are certain things which we keep discussing in our school education and teacher education as the basis of our teacher education or training, that school is our field where we actually work and where we practice, and that's how we gain the mastery of our field. So basically, if we do not have schools interlinked in teacher education, probably it will be very difficult for us to be successful in our teacher education, because ultimately schools are our support system, which is very, very important aspect of our training. So let me begin from one. Gurpreet, can you all see my whole screen? The PPT is clear to you all?
Ma'am, half is visible. You maximize your screen.
Is it
Now
clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. I just want students, I'm sorry, the participants to be answering to the questions when we are proceeding in the slides. Learning outcome from the session is going to be we are going to learn how to design the learning experiences and empower the learners. Now, these learning experiences are basically how to empower our students, how to empower upcoming teachers. We as teacher educators, we need to build learning experiences for them, which becomes ultimately important for us as a teacher educator to play our role. I just wish to pose one question. You all can quickly in your chat, or you can be answering to these questions to make the session little more interactive. I wish to know from the teachers, the existing teacher educators, as well as some of you who are the beginners in the teaching profession to be a teacher educator. We need to know the central board, which basically is the master board for all the state boards in their education. For example, Punjab School Education Board. Here in Mumbai, we have Maharashtra School Education Board, and we have people in Haryana School Education Board. All state boards, they have their own curriculum and they have their own policy for the curriculum to be at place. I wish to know if somebody among the participants is aware about CBSE board, central board, has identified or enlisted how many vocational courses in their list of courses which they pose as vocational training courses. If somebody knows the answer, please quickly either write in the chat, or you can unmute yourself also and you can give the answer. How many vocational courses are there in CBSE board? Are we getting answers in the chat?
Ma'am, Gurjeet ma'am has said there are 8, sir.
Eight courses?
Yes.
Okay, somebody else, please try. Okay, if not many answers are coming, we have around 31 participants. I wish you all to know that there are 38 courses, 38 vocational courses, which CBSE has enlisted for last number of years. It is over after Kothari Commission implementation, and because vocationalization is nothing new. This is what I wish to mention over here. If we are looking at national policy of education or national education policy, actually 2020 is going to change the scenario. Yes, we are looking for the positive change, but vocationalization of education always had been a kind of a taster which had been always there in our system. But unfortunately, it was never implemented so successfully. CBSE has enlisted 38 vocational courses, पर पढ़ाए किन्ने जांदे ने? How many courses are actually taught? There are only maximum, Gurpreet said 8, so probably 4 to 8 courses are actually taught in our CBSE board. And computer education is one among them. Sare schools de which computer education jehdi hai wo compulsory hai, but enlisted courses are una courses de vichon carpentry, architecture, even beautician, the course also is there enlisted, but none of the schools collect the courage. None of the schools actually teach our upcoming generation, our upcoming children, that these are the courses we need to be training to our, and curriculum also is designed, the prescribed documentation also is available, that if any school wants to start those kind of vocational training courses, that is available. But sadly, unfortunately, even CBSE board also has not taken, none of the schools have taken that much of courage to implement that kind of vocational training. So what we need to understand from this small example which I could pose before you is that does not mean the documentation of national policy of education, national education policy is going to change the scenario all of a sudden overnight or 5 years or 10 years, unless we, the teacher educators and the teachers, school administration actually put in lots and lots of effort into bringing about the change. The policy has given lots of liberty to us. Policy has given lots of autonomy to us. Lots and lots of autonomy is given now. Come up with your new courses. Come up with your new policies. Come up with your own implementation. So that liberalization has given to us a lot through national education policy. But we need to develop the courage. We need to develop the design. So that's why I very specifically, I have taken from my first slide that I am going to touch upon my experiences from my college, my linking with the schools, how Bombay Teachers Training College at Mumbai has linked its placement with the schools, its internship with the schools, and how we have developed and designed our own curriculum, which if we at Bombay could do, probably schools in Punjab, schools in Haryana, schools or colleges, teacher education colleges also can develop and can extend their wings to that extent where interlinking between teacher education and the schools can be made possible. Again, quickly, I just wish to ask you one question. As teacher educator, you all must have at some point of time in your life, you must have played chess or you must have seen people playing chess around you. Which one counter, if you are asked, which one counter according to you is most important counter? You can unmute yourself and you can king, queen, bishop, knight, castle, pawn. Pawn is in Punjabi, we say chota, sab to chota wala piyada. Castle is jinu asi Punjabi ch mera khayal hathi kehande ha, ya knight is koda. So these are the counters which we consider in the game. So please answer to me. If you are asked one counter which is most powerful. So if any answers are coming in the chat, please. Okay, queen, yes. King, fine. How do I go back to my presentation? Okay, I close the chat. Can you see my PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
One moment. It is. So I think most of you, when I asked the question, you have focused only on one. This is what is the confine limit when we confine ourselves, because the question was asked, which one counter? Basically, I wish to tell you there is not only one counter which is most important. All counters in the game of chess are equally important. छोटा सा प्यादा जो है वो भी किंग को मार सकता है, छोटा सा प्यादा जो है वो भी क्वीन को मार सकता है. So why I have posed this kind of example before you. Generally we think, अब national policy of education आ गई है हमारे system में, so we are considering somebody else will have to do that, the implementation for us. कोई और करेगा. The point over here is, और chota wala pawn in the whole system, we should not consider that I am less important. Every counter in the game of chess is equally important. I am not saying that education is a game of chess, right? Not. But every person in the whole system of education is equally important, and we can bring about the change. That is what is very, very important, which we will have to understand, we will have to accept, we will have to build the self-confidence for developing the courses, for interlinking with the schools, for pressurizing the schools that teacher education is not a separate segment. What happens is, number of times schools do not give opportunity to our B.Ed students. They do not provide for the practice teaching as a field. We have the concept of shadowing teacher. We have the concept of taking the internship practices and number of things which policy has designed for us, policy has implemented onto us. But we B.Ed colleges are unsuccessful to implement that in a very healthy and successful manner. But ultimately, for linking with the school, we will have to adopt the positive approach with lots and lots of self-confidence, which we will have to understand how we will go about it. Now, the policy which says 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, I hope and I assume each one of you must have at least gone through 434 pages of policy documentation, but divided into 9 chapters. And out of those 9 chapters, the chapter which talks about only teacher education, talks about teacher training, and coming up, the chapter which is specifically made for us. So I request to you, अगर आपने नहीं पढ़ा है तो कम से कम टीचर ट्रेनिंग वाला, टीचर एजुकेशन वाला चैप्टर जो है वो आप जाना पड़ेगा, which is very, very important. Balwadis, which was a separate concept in the early childhood education. Early childhood education over a period of time, if you look into, it was an absolutely separate segment. It was absolutely a separate structure. In Punjab, you all have, I think it is pre-primary teachers, some words are given for that if I am mistaken. So pre-primary teacher training is a separate system altogether. B.Ed colleges is in isolation, and then elementary teacher training is in isolation. We will have to understand what is integrated teacher training. Integrated teacher training का concept क्या है? I'm not talking about only 4 साल वाली B.Ed की बात नहीं कर रही हूँ. Integrated teacher training शुरू से लेके प्री प्राइमरी से लेके सेकेंडरी तक, when we will have those secondary, elementary, pre-primary, all will get integrated. What is going to be our role as a teacher and teacher educator, which is going to be very challenging, and we will have to accept it. School education वाला aspect हमारे लिए important क्यों होने वाला है, which as a teacher educator we should be very, very clear about it. The policy aims at reducing the curriculum load of students, which we had been talking number of times. पुराने सारे जमाने में हम ये बात करते रहे हैं, बच्चों के स्कूल का बैग हल्का होना चाहिए, बच्चों के शोल्डर्स पे वेट नहीं आना चाहिए. But how do we do that? Actually, how do we implement that? इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी कोर्सेज का मतलब क्या है, मल्टीलिंगुअल होने का मतलब क्या है? सो दिस इज व्हाट इज वेरी, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो वन the document talks about with the examples are actually put up over there. बेकरी करते करते किसी बच्चे को अगर साथ में केमिस्ट्री पढ़नी है, हाउ दैट कैन बी पॉसिबल. फैशन डिजाइनिंग अगर करते करते किसी बच्चे को फिजिक्स भी पढ़नी है, हाउ दैट इज गोइंग टू बी पॉसिबल. द डिजायर्ड क्रेडिट्स क्या होंगे, क्रेडिट शिफ्ट कैसे होंगे फ्रॉम वन कोर्स टू अनदर कोर्स, हाउ आर वी गोइंग टू शिफ्ट दोज क्रेडिट्स ऑल्सो. होलिस्टिक अप्रोच का मतलब क्या है. सो पॉलिसी रियली हैज abundance for us as teacher educator, which we should be very clear about it. Knowledge plus skills plus manual experience. This is what policy talks about when policy talks about school education. Knowledge हमने gain कर ली. Knowledge is only what you have, we have, you have. School education की किताबें हैं and textbooks हैं. Textbooks में syllabus है, curriculum है. So knowledge is gathered. In addition to knowledge, what skills are to be gathered? What skills are to be attained? And then manual operations. Now, for manual operations, industry will have to come into the picture. The corporate sector will have to come into the picture. For us, teacher training institutes will have to come in the picture when we want schools के बच्चों की foundation, when they want to become the teachers. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th के बच्चों को when we want to train them how to get into teaching profession. So that's how the school will have to be tabbed together. School will have to come into the whole process, into the whole picture of the processing of making the teachers, which will be very, very important in coming years. That we all will have to understand. School education के साथ teacher education का role क्या होगा, which as a teacher we will have to understand. So ultimately, what becomes the role of a teacher as per NEP? We had been using a word number of times. Teacher needs to be providing the facility. As a facilitator, teacher will have to work. Teacher will have to provide but what kind of facilities teachers they need to provide? What platform teacher needs to create, which is again very, very challenging and again very unclear to number of people. What kind of opportunities we need to generate for our students, which teacher training institutions will have to play their massive role in the whole process of making the teachers. As I am repeatedly saying, although teacher education is getting challenged, but what teacher education will have to face the challenge, we will have to understand that in a very crystal clear manner. What is the multidisciplinary colleges? What does that mean? What kind of courses teacher educators will and the universities will have to look into? What kind of degrees? In my university, HSMC University, we have interdisciplinary PhD. Also, we are coming up with number of interdisciplinary. When I say, we always had been having in the field of education, you need to have a strong base in education. Always MEd was required to do PhD in education, but now MA education also will be considered. But sometimes people, when they do MSc chemistry or MA mathematics or MA Punjabi, still they want to do education PhD. What will be their scenario? Will they have to do MEd? Then only they can do? No. This is what is the scenario that is going to change. You just need to have a base of education and you can proceed for interdisciplinary PhDs. So this is what is another scenario change that is going to happen for the people in future. But the whole process, now see, 2020 policy was implemented, already 22 shuru ho gaya hai. That means still there is lot of brainstorming going on, how to implement, what is going to be the repercussion. So much, but massive change is going to happen in the coming 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and we need to make ourselves ready for that. Before 2030, the totality of change is going to occur. We will have to make our students understand I, me, myself, because the focus is going to be very, very important upon my skills, my personal skills, because policy has given us so much of liberty on enhancing and developing personal skills. So what is me, what are my skills, and myself is my scenario, we will have to make our students understand, because in the later slides, I am going to talk about even Gardner's multiple intelligences, where we talk about we talk about our own skills of learning. How do we learn? Basically, first of all, what is my style of learning? So we are going to view through these slides and understand what basic skills we will be focusing on upcoming teachers importantly. Here at BTTC, we focus on these important things which I wanted to discuss with you. The reflective journal, which is very, very important, where students, they write their own reflections. And those reflections start from what was my objective, what was my perception, and what is my experience. My experience of every lesson or every practice or every instance which they go through. The reflective journal is the most important journal of teacher making. Here we look into at Bombay Teachers Training College, because reflections of your personal self are very, very important when you are progressively climbing the ladder of your own profession. And then we help them through rubrics. So what is rubrics? What are the parameters of rubrics? What are the dimensions of rubrics? I am going to discuss with you, and that's what is going to be your learning outcome for today's session. And then what are e-portfolios? Are individual portfolios which students at the end of teacher training, they come up with e-portfolios, and that's how the e-portfolios help them for LinkedIn jobs, for a number of other platforms where they can be helping themselves to even get the good jobs also, which is beyond the placement of school, you can say the college which conducts the campus recruitment for the students. It's very important that they know, they understand what do you do, why you do that. क्यों कर रहे हैं हम, जो कुछ भी कर रहे हैं वो उसका रीजन क्या है. So reflective journal has one of this, that what was my important objective, and objective with the specifications. What specifically I am going to attain today, as 2-3 times repeatedly in this session also I have spoken to you, this is going to be learning outcome. So learning outcome needs to be focused. It needs to be the pivot of those 35-40 minutes at that particular time when students, they need to understand आज के टॉपिक का आउटकम क्या होने वाला है. So that needs to be very, very clear to the students. And when that focus is very clear, when that pivot is very clear, then everything is surrounded by that. Now, when we say surrounded by that, in surrounding, it can be all what you say. Teaching aids is there, context is there, examples are there. We talk about 5 E's and 7 E's, explore and expand. So much we talks about constructivist approach, from where the constructivist approach takes its own platform. It takes its own platform from the first, that is the objective, which needs to be very, very clear. So the first approach is very important, that students, they need to write down their self-reflection. Now, when we say students, they need to write down their self-reflection, I am talking about student teachers. So teachers, when they write their reflections, it has 4 dimensions. Now, in 4 dimensions, it's 1, me, then my students, then there is a peer observation. Other student teachers of the same class, they are observing them. They write the peer observation for other people. So that becomes one of the stakeholder who is giving the feedback to that particular person. 4th pillar can be school teacher, or it can be teacher educator or the supervisor. So self reflections include the other reflections also, and then it becomes a complete journal of that particular day. Self reflections is the most important, you can say, a kind of where are the chances of improvement. So there are columns which are very importantly built up, and those columns, and I will be talking to you in the form of rubrics in the next slides. But self reflections basically is a first step of the ladder during the internship when we are talking about linking with the schools, because theoretical information actually cannot make you understand, cannot make you experience what practically you wish to gain. So when you are wanting to gain specifically, when you are wanting to gain in experience, one needs to be experiencing the classroom. But in classroom, if no one is writing down the reflections, no one is writing down the impressions or reading them again and again for the point of view of rubrics, which I will be talking to you later, then naturally the experience is not a worthy experience, which is very, very important. When we are linking schools with teacher education, teacher profession, we need to make effective teachers, and we need to cultivate interest in the upcoming generation also to become effective teachers. So when students are writing the reflections, imagine when school children grown up, students are writing the reflections for the teacher, naturally they are also developing critical thinking, problem solving. So basically maturity starts rising over there at that point of time only, what is there in the teaching profession for upcoming students in the school also. So imagine that scenario, imagine that situation where one practicing teacher, we come across number of chances when children they talk about टीचर आप ये कैसा पढ़ा रहे हो, टीचर ये गलत है. So then we also have to tell the children, we as teacher educators, we have to tell the children, you need to bear with the situation, you need to bear with the chance, because they are practicing teachers. So there has to develop a win-win situation. So teacher educators will have to develop lot of linking between the school education as well as making the teacher education a smooth scenario for upcoming teachers also. So first approach is the verbal feedback needs to be, you can say, substituted with self reflections as well as the written evidence of upcoming teachers, which is very, very important. So one needs to know the strengths, weaknesses, मेरी strengths क्या है, weaknesses क्या है, where I need to improve. So that self-reflective journal has developed those kind of columns, and then upcoming teacher is told to be focusing on the strength of individual. So we must learn to live with the change, any kind of change that comes across. For example, I can be discussing, like in Punjab, I got to know that there was not a very serious shutdown because of COVID and Corona, but Mumbai did not open for 1.5 years. पूरा 1.5 साल हमने सिर्फ ऑनलाइन काम किया है, पूरे 1.5 साल हमने स्टूडेंट्स को, एंड देयर वाज अ कंप्लीट यू टर्न इन आवर very, very strong we all need that coming in, and a lot of effective of that. or support or strategies, how we develop and then become a part of institutions should be very important. So next, we have to talk about institutions is to be restructured in the education using the whole process again work upon, execute upon, process again. Schools for each other kind of space we will have to so some COVID, we see and we learn and we work upon. Kinesthetic and tactile is put up together. Tactile and kinesthetic is the energy, is the touch. So you all are very clear about it. I assume that you are clear because this is basically the part of teacher training and you all are doing the FDP. So you should be clear about. But what we are not clear about is what kind of strategies we should be developing. सुनने के लिए हमें कौन सी स्ट्रेटजीज डेवलप करनी चाहिए, देखने के लिए हमें कौन सी स्ट्रेटजीज डेवलप करनी चाहिए. सो आई विश टू डिस्कस विद यू इज वी ऑल हैव आवर ओन स्टाइल. We have playful style and we have planned style. Now playful which comes to us naturally, which comes to us absolutely जैसे हो जाता है, मेरे से ऐसा ही होता है, मेरे से ऐसा हो जाता है. So that is our natural style of learning which is playful. जैसे पंजाबी में sometimes we say मन से शरारत करती है, मतलब किसी के अंदर से कुछ ना कुछ. Some people are very jovial, some people are very socializing, some people are very affectionate, touch करके मिलते हैं. So this is what basically what comes to you naturally is your playful style. What you can plan for, and what you can plan for is your professional requirement. And when you say professional requirement, for example, अगर vocabulary अच्छी नहीं है, teaching profession में vocabulary अच्छी होना is basic necessity. So you need to guide to your students that they need to plan that particular style. For example, every day they need to learn 2 new words, which should be a lifetime practice. Every day pronunciation or every day spoken English they need to work upon. Although national policy is giving us the liberty for mother tongue, is giving us the chance, opportunity for mother tongue, but once when you come on the national platform or interstate platform, there needs to be one medium of exchange, one medium of common exchange. It can be either Hindi, it can be, and most acceptable level is English. So children or students, upcoming teachers, they need to improvise upon their spoken English. They need to improvise upon their vocabulary, the meaning, the different languages. Now, for example, all those children, not children, but the teachers, all those teachers who are going to pass out from your institute, they are not going to get absorbed by only Punjab state or only by Haryana state. They definitely move out from the state. They will definitely go to international platform. They may move out to any other educational institution which is out of your state. So you need to prepare them for interstate absorption, or you need to prepare them for international absorption. So when you are preparing them for that particular level, you need to adopt planned style of enhancing the skills. So you need to plan. you need to structure. How do we improvise our students' basic skills? Now, basic skills, which earlier we had been calling that as micro teaching. Now, if you look into micro teaching, officially it is not there in our curriculum of teacher training. Whereas micro teaching is the basic necessity. We need to have good introduction, we need to have good explanation, we need to have good questioning, we need to have good debating skill. But over a period of time, we have reached to that level where we say shadowing the teachers. Now, when you are telling an upcoming teacher who is a teacher who is just in the process of becoming a teacher, and you are telling that particular teacher just go and shadow the school teacher without any demonstration, without any micro teaching, the process is already bypassed. So no one is stopping you कि आप अपने कॉलेज में माइक्रो टीचिंग मत करो क्योंकि करिकुलम में नहीं है. We are doing at Bombay Teachers Training College, we have not stopped micro teaching skills, but we do not do that as micro teaching. We do not use the term, but we are doing as basic skills of. So we consider 5 basic skills of teaching where we consider explanation, blackboard writing, because handwriting is a very good skill for a teacher, which is basic necessity. The teacher who cannot write, improve your handwriting, how she will write to the other children for such kind of comments. So we have not diluted with the skills of micro teaching, but we have changed the terminology as per guideline which is given to us by NCTE. So what difference does it make? It does not make any difference in the whole process, but our students are gaining that knowledge because basic skills, and then we reach to the advanced skills. Now, advanced skills, we call them ICT training, computer usage training, and then we teach them models of teaching. And in models of teaching, we have taken GIM, CAM, and many other kinds of models, and then we enforce on them. Out of those 45 lessons, they have to teach 1 lesson, or 5 models. If they have 1 model, 1 lesson, 1 multiple intelligence, 1 practice teaching lessons. So this is how we have planned our internship, and we have incorporated whatever are the basics of teacher education. We have tried our best to make them mandatory at Bombay Teachers Training College. So planned style is very, very important. Now, जिस बच्चे को जो कुछ भी अच्छा लगे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल वो विजुअल से करना चाहता है, म्यूजिकल लेसन बनाना चाहता है, वो विजुअल से कराना चाहता है, आर्ट एंड क्राफ्ट से कराना, पाइथागोरस थ्योरम कैन बी टॉट 3 ways, with musical instruments, with art and craft also, and with playground also. Take your children out in the playground and then make them learn the Pythagoras theorem. This is the liberty that we try to give to our students in a very planned style. You have to implement those models in your lessons. So that's how we try to first make them understand what is your own style of learning. Students को पता होना चाहिए मेरा style of learning क्या है. Then I should be developing my teaching aids on the basis of my learning style, and then I must cater to other students and other children. So these are some of the pictures, some of the visuals which I think, because we all know that we have the basic primary colors, we all are made by nature like that, and then we make permutation combinations of those colors, and then we make our teaching very colorful by sometimes we are violet in the class, sometimes we are orange in the class, sometimes we are green in the class, because as a teacher and in specific as a teacher educator, we have to be more colorful, we have to be making the permutation combination. So very important thing over here is teacher needs to know कि मेरा कलर क्या है, मेरी सिलेक्शन क्या है, my combinations are what. I am a visual learner, I am a kinesthetic learner, or I am an audio learner. I make the permutations, combinations accordingly, which should be very clear to the teacher. All those children, all those students in teacher education, teacher training institutions, if they do not make their concept clear, अगर उनको अपनी काबिलता जो पता नहीं चलती है, अगर टीचर बनने के टाइम में मेरी क्या आइडेंटिटी है या मेरा क्या स्किल है, अगर बीएड कॉलेजेस में उनको वो पता नहीं चल जाता, it is very very sad state then to become an effective teacher. So this becomes our responsibility to make them understand, make them identify I am what kind of teacher, which is very very important to become a multicolored teacher in the scenario, because no one is going to come and do B.Ed again and again. No one is going to come back or look back at B.Ed colleges again and again. So while doing B.Ed in B.Ed institutions, it becomes important responsibility for teacher educators to let them bring their best out to work for rest of the 35 years in. अगर कोई 25 साल तक बीएड करके निकल जाता है हमारे पास, तो आने वाले कितने साल उन्होंने टीचर बनके एफिशिएंसी और एफिकेसी से काम करना है, that becomes their responsibility or that becomes their charm to work as a teacher, that B.Ed colleges ने हमें ये सिखाया है. One very important thing I wish to discuss again with you on, we need to value people, which again policy has given a wonderful chance to us. Once when we are looking into versatile talents, versatile ability of people, we definitely, now paper therapy basically is all about writing the comments and compliments when we write for students. So there is where rubrics plays its effective role. So rubrics ultimately is one of the, you can say parameter or one of the dimension in the hands of teachers, which is very, very important. We need to make them very strong as emotional intelligence, because when our students, they enter into schools, no one is going to guide them. When lot of staff room politics is going to happen, or staff room noisy rivalry is going to impact and affect them. So students should be very clear about it. Where do I stand with my potential? Ultimately, what I'm wanting to say is, as the gap is there between the school education and teacher education, that needs to be covered, because schools, they have very strange look at B.Ed colleges, that the students who are coming out from B.Ed colleges are immediately not going to get adapted with the new structure, with the new status. Now we need to develop the confidence in the upcoming generation that national education policy has actually appreciated and enhanced their opportunities to become an effective teacher. So the monotony or monotonous attitude of teachers in the schools should also be cherishing the talent which B.Ed students are going to bring them in the new scenario. Again, I would not say it is a new scenario. It is a new opportunity. Scenario was already there. As I said it, vocationalization is not a new term. Or privatization in the education also is not a new term. It had been happening. But again, to B.Ed colleges, only government schools are supposed to be supporting. Government schools are only documented to be supporting. So we should make the effective opportunity for this kind of change, which is very, very important. And we need to, emotional intelligence is one of the aspect. I will try to go a little faster over here, as self-awareness and self-management is one of the aspect of theory, which is very, very important. So our students, they need to be having self-realization. They need to be having self-understanding when they go into the, you can say, after practice teaching also into the real field of work. So they should be having that kind of emotional connect with their personal self. There is a model which is known as, I will request the participants, they can go through if they are not aware about, Jory Windows, John and Harry. Johari Windows model of self-development, which is very, very important, and that is known as transactional analysis. You need to transact what is known to me and what is known to others, and what is known to others if not known to me. दूसरे मेरे बारे में क्या सोचते हैं, मुझे वो पता होना चाहिए, एंड मुझे अपनी विंडो, माई सेल्फ की जो विंडो है, what I am, what others know about me, what others think about me, and what others think and I do not know. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मुझे एग्जाम्पल दे रही हूं, मुझे कोई कहे कि मनदीप मैडम आप में पेशेंस बहुत है, और मैं सोचती रहूं मैं बड़ी इम्पेशेंट हूं, मैं जल्दी इम्पेशेंट हो जाती हूँ, मुझे जल्दी गुस्सा आ जाता है. कोई मुझे कहे आपका पेशेंस इज वर्थ एप्रिसिएशन, आई विल स्टार्ट थिंकिंग, oh really, people think like that I am over patient, I can naturally, I will start working on that particular skill of mine, on that particular dimension of mine which I have not, or probably I have overlooked. So we should give the opportunity to our students to develop all the dimensions which they carry and which is very, very important for them. And then comes ultimately the model of integrated thinking, and we call it multiple intelligences. Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences is very, very important, where we combine Gardner's theory into permutations and combinations, and then when we say for one intellectual ability, one particular intellectual ability, we make permutations and combinations, and those permutations and combinations ultimately develop one rubric. And one that particular rubric which I think you all, at least you must have heard, if your institution is not applying a rubric, if your institution has not developed as yet the rubric, I at least assume, or I hope that you have learned this term of rubrics. What is rubrics kind of? Actually, the rubrics kind of assessment is, many of you must have gone through a career advancement scheme which is provided to us. एक UGC का एक format है जो जिसमें career advancement, and we call it appendix, appraisal index, API. That API score, if you look into, it is based on dimensions of rubrics, rubrics जो का है approach. One is analytic criteria of which you can be using specifically for upcoming group of participants. Rubrics also is nothing new. Only thing is, in our education system, rubrics has come new and we have started developing it. Now, this rubrics is in absentia of teacher educator also, how the assessment will be taken up and how that assessment can be helpful for upcoming teachers. Now, this rubric training at our college, we have given to the school teachers also. So, school teachers help us in fulfilling this rubric dimensions, which I will share with you. This is what is. Now, if you look into the gray, the beige part of the slides, lesson planning, introduction, content knowledge. So these are called the dimensions, the parameters of rubrics. This is what I am showing you on the screen is the student copy, and there is one slide which has supervisor's copy also. Okay, maybe it will come after this. So this is the explanation of what are the standards, what are the dimensions. Is it below standard? It is developing proficiency and exemplary. Now these four, if you can see my cursor, below standard, developing, proficient. Now proficient at least should be the target at the end of 40-45 lessons, unguided, guided lessons, or shadowing teachers, whatever the terminology you use, at least the proficiency is one of the target which we achieve. Now what happens over here is, in our practice teaching, every lesson is assessed lesson. Now for example, what I got to know is in Punjab is you all have your practice teaching lessons where the cluster of lessons, and you have one practice teaching lesson which is of 100 marks. So now out of those 100 marks, when you have, probably your students will achieve 60, 70 or maximum 80 marks in one lesson presentation. Here in University of Mumbai and Pune University and many more universities in Maharashtra, we have practice teaching lessons are divided. Each lesson is divided into 10 marks. Now, every time student goes to the class for when the integrated internship is going on, every time student teacher goes with a rubric in the hands, and that rubric is provided to the school teacher. It is provided to the peer group. जो peer उसको बैठ के 3 या 4 स्टूडेंट ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं, उनको rubrics की एक कॉपी दी हुई है और एक स्कूल टीचर को कॉपी दी हुई है. एंड एवरी लेसन हैज असेसमेंट where student comes to know, the one particular student who is presenting the lesson comes to know मैं below standard हूँ, developing हूँ, proficient हूँ या exemplary हूँ अपनी lesson planning में. So हर पैरामीटर को, हर डायमेंशन को एक रूब्रिक लगाया है, एक पैरामीटर लगाया है. इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ लेसन डेवलपिंग थी या प्रोफिशिएंट थी, कंटेंट नॉलेज ऑफ द टीचर डेवलपिंग थी या प्रोफिशिएंट थी, या फिर एग्जाम्पलरी हो गई. कोई लेसन किसी बच्चे ने इतना एग्जाम्पलरी पढ़ाया कि 4-5 पीयर ग्रुप ने भी एग्जाम्पलरी लिख दिया और सुपरवाइजर ने. दैट मीन्स यू गेट मोटिवेटेड एंड यू फील वेरी हैप्पी अबाउट इट. आज मैंने लेसन जो है, सो एवरी टाइम यू गो इन द क्लास यू हैव पैरामीटर्स, यू हैव डायमेंशंस. नाउ दीज आर सिलेक्शन ऑफ टीचिंग मेथड. हो सकता है उस टाइम पे उस पर्टिकुलर लेसन के लिए मेरा सिलेक्शन ऑफ टीचिंग मेथड रॉन्ग चला गया, तो देन स्टूडेंट गेट्स अ मैसेज, नेक्स्ट लेसन के लिए आई शुड बी यूजिंग मोर अप्रोप्रिएट टीचिंग मेथड. नाउ व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज दिस design of whole internship, this design of interlinking with the schools. So we have list of our B.Ed schools. यहाँ पे हमारे B.Ed के बच्चे जाएंगे. We in our university, in our college, we have teacher training at all the 3 levels. We have pre-primary teacher training, we have elementary teacher training, and we have B.Ed also as secondary teacher training. So we have enlisted the schools, the combination of schools. B.Ed students will go to these particular schools. So teacher pupil interaction कैसी थी? हो सकता है कोई बच्चा टीचर और टीचर पीपल इंटरेक्शन मींस बेसिकली स्टूडेंट्स के साथ. when students they go to the new school, new environment, हो सकता है उस पर्टिकुलर क्लास के लिए टीचर पीपल इंटरेक्शन बहुत अच्छी नहीं रही, लेकिन ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम व्हेन टीचर इज गोइंग अगेन एंड अगेन, सेकंड रूब्रिक्स, थर्ड रूब्रिक्स, फोर्थ रूब्रिक्स या 5 या 6 बार जब रूब्रिक्स लगेगा, दैट विल बी अ इम्प्रोवाइज्ड डायमेंशन और पैरामीटर, वो इंप्रूव हो जाएगा अपने आप. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज क्लासरूम मैनेजमेंट कैसा था. नाउ ऑल दीज डायमेंशंस आर पुट अप in that particular frame outline, and that frame outline which is designed by Bombay Teachers Training College. क्लोजर ऑफ लेसन कैसा था? हो सकता है आपने सारा कुछ बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाया, लेकिन 35 मिनट्स के बाद आपने सम अप नहीं किया, आपने क्लोजर ऑफ लेसन अच्छे से नहीं दिया, तो डेफिनेटली यू विल गेट इन दैट पर्टिकुलर डायमेंशन और पैरामीटर, आपको जो टिक 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 किसी ने लगा के देना है, उसमें आपको exemplary या proficient नहीं मिलेगा, which will be a lesson of learning for the presenter. For the next time, I should be improvising or keeping in mind that closure of lesson also is a one of the parameter I should be paying the attention. So assessment of the lesson, basically किस तरह की assessments आपने last में दी हैं. At the end of the lesson, what you have told, what you have provided to your student, that also is taken into consideration. So this is what the rubrics I can be sharing with you. I can be posting it on the WhatsApp group also. Please go through it. Try to understand that. You can be developing for your own institution also. You can be developing for your own university or wherever the institution you belong to. You need any help for that, for developing parameter also, you can be developing it subject wise also. साइंस के स्टूडेंट्स का रूब्रिक्स कैसा होना चाहिए, मैथमेटिक्स के स्टूडेंट्स का कैसा होना चाहिए, लैंग्वेज वाले बच्चों का कैसा होना चाहिए. Again, this is going to be institution based. Again, it is going to be need based, which you can be developing for your own institution. That can be one of the, and when you will be providing that to the school teachers, then they will understand. हमें बैठ के remarks नहीं लिखने हैं, हमें उनकी observation में कोई there is only glance करने पे ही 5 मिनट 10 मिनट glance करने पे ही you can quickly judge the person, you can quickly understand from the efficacy which one has put into the lesson. It can be judged. Now probably I'm not saying आप system change कर दो, I'm not saying आप अपने 100 marks को change कर दो. You must continue what your university is providing to you. But when your students are going for the practice teaching, when you are sending them with the preparation, number of times teacher educator cannot be available in all the classes. Number of times teacher educator cannot be observing the whole lesson. But if you will provide a rubric to the school teacher, if you will provide a guideline to the school teacher, now there will be little hassle. School teacher also will not be very happy that every time I have to go, I have to observe. But there is one guideline, there is one structure. Your students also, at least they will know, they will get to understand. ये मेरा पैरामीटर है, इस पैरामीटर पे मैंने राइज करना है, ये एक गाइडलाइन मुझे दी गई है. Probably in the book which you have, the practice teaching lesson book, the log book which they are preparing, you can tell them that इस rubric को आप हमेशा अपने पास रखो, आप अपने दूसरे students को दो और फिर उसमें find out करो. One needs to be very truthful. सच्चाई के साथ आपको उनको सिखाना होगा कि this is how, and when that rubric will go in the hands of the school teachers, in the hands of observers, that automatically will set one first linking between the teacher educator, the student and the school. And then school teachers also will understand. B.Ed teachers इनको ये पैरामीटर सेट करके भेजते हैं, आपको किस प्रोफिशिएंसी लेवल या किस एग्जाम्पलरी लेवल पे आपको आना है. Even school teachers also gradually they will become supportive. Gradually they will become little happy about, yes, B.Ed students मेहनत करके आते हैं, ये dimensions हैं, ये parameters हैं, उन parameters पे उनकी assessment होती है. Then definitely the gap will be covered up, the efficacy will be covered up. But before that, I request teacher educators, again, they will have to put in their effort first. Teacher educators will have to set their own parameters first, then only this efficiency and efficacy can be successful. Last, I think coming closer to the ending of the session, I wish to again ask you, what according to you as teacher educator, what according to you would be the best skill or personal development के लिए इन सारे में से knowledge होनी चाहिए, practice होनी चाहिए, awareness, motivation और attitude. I want again one answer which you all can be, just to make little interactive with you all. आपको क्या लग रहा है कि students में कौन सा एक one particular होना चाहिए? So Gurpreet can be helping me quickly if you see what the chat is coming up. What participants have written in the chat?
Yes, ma'am.
I can see there are 37 people, so at least 30 responses should come quickly. Gurpreet, you are there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Rita, anyone can quickly read out for me what are the responses that are coming from the participants?
There is mixture of responses, ma'am. Everyone,
Okay.
some people are saying motivation, some attitude, some practice, and there is a mixture. Awareness has also come from Manpreet Kaur. Now practice and knowledge. So different answers. All the 5 are coming in the answers.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for. I will just go to the slide. Yes. I consider, or I would say psychology has considered, motivation is the most important factor from knowledge. If you do not have knowledge, you get motivated to gain the knowledge, you will definitely gain that. So if you do not have awareness, you will try to generate awareness. If you are intrinsically motivated, or if you are well guided, well directed, so motivation actually is one of important resource, important energy, that if you are well motivated by teacher educators, I would say one statement over here, हमने बहुत से teachers को कहते हुए सुना होगा, specifically teacher educators को कहते सुना होगा, कुछ भी बनो पर टीचर एजुकेटर मत बनना, टीचर मत बनना. So that, what does that mean? Actually that means that we are not happy in our profession as well. We are not happy with our input itself. So these kind of statements are very, very demotivating. When teachers go to the schools, our practice teaching students, they go to the school, if they will motivate the upcoming generation, and they can motivate only if they are motivated themselves, if they are very happy with their input also. I understand that teacher educator बनाने के लिए इतना लंबा process हो गया. You all can understand, पहले 2 साल की B.Ed, फिर 2 साल की M.Ed. Probably over a period of time, the charm to become teacher educator also will be lost. Imagine how challenging that it will be to be a teacher educator and sustain the interest to train to the teachers. So it is very, very important that we stay motivated, because I consider national education policy has given us lots and lots of opportunities, chances. I repeatedly say, no one is going to confine and bind us कि तुम इतना ही कर सकते हो. You definitely can do beyond that. You definitely can do in a different manner, in a different way. Policy is only a documentation. Policy is only on place. Policy is not going to ask you, or policy is not going to tell you कि आपने ये क्यों किया है. Policy may ask you क्यों नहीं किया. Certain things they may ask you why it is not done. But if you have done a bit extra, policy is not going to be creating any harm for you. So this is what I would say very, very important. How we interlink is, we need to, I will just go little quickly. 5 C's of developing good confidence, good, you can say, a feature among our own upcoming teachers, teacher educators, to develop confidence, command over the language, good communication, concept clarity is very, very important. We come across number of teachers who are teaching with the wrong content only, because first thing, when we cater now here in Bombay, we are catering to 5 boards, Maharashtra board, CBSE board, IGCSE board, international board, and I missed out one, which is ICSE board. So that is how we are catering to international boards also as well, whereas we are supposed to be, as per UGC guideline or NCTE guideline, we are supposed to be catering to only Maharashtra board. महाराष्ट्र बोर्ड के बच्चों को पढ़ाना है, स्टेट बोर्ड के बच्चों को पढ़ाना है, but we know our students are not definitely going to get a job only in HSC board, the Maharashtra board. HSC stands for higher secondary. So we are catering to them for CBSE board also. Definitely we have around our surroundings over here where my college and university is located, we have Kendriya Vidyalayas, we have defense over here. Anytime if you get a chance to come to Bombay and meet us, it is in Kolaba. This university is in Worli, and our institution is prime located between CBSE board schools also and international board also. So we are catering to our students for all the 5 boards. The preparation is for all the 5 boards, where we train them for Maharashtra board as well as central board also. So what I am trying to tell you is, when we are linking with the schools, when we are setting the platform for our upcoming students, upcoming teachers, during the internship only it so happens that their placement already has taken place. This is how the linking between the schools has made so strong. The concept clarity, time management, good communication, these are the basic skills which I would say the commitment towards the profession, which is very, very important, and which is very, as I said it, that sometimes those kind of teachers, kuch bhi bano par teacher mat banna, those kind of demotivating statements should be removed out from their dictionary, should be removed out from their attitude. That kind of attitude needs to be converted into positive, for a positive change and a positive lookout. So it's not always that your shadow follows you at behind. Sometimes your own self shows you the right direction also, which this slide again, kind of motivation for you all, which is very, very important. I will quickly give the answer to this slide all by myself only. The basic priority, the first on priority which you need to do is the work which is not, sometimes urgent work also is not important, and sometimes very important work also is not urgent. So you need to decide your own priorities. So self motivation is very, very important for the teacher educators, for the upcoming teachers. And some of the, this is the last, I think 1 or 2 slides are remaining. I do not know actually whether session is to be closed. So probably I have taken little longer time, but this is the important slide I want to discuss with you. For the suggestions to minimize the gap, what is most important is, I underlined this for you, localized globalization. You need to look after, you need to look into what is most important in your own local world to be global. How these 4 or 5 institutions which have collaborated today, how are they going to spread their wings for global market? How are you going to make your teachers for global market? That is what is very, very important. From local to global, when you talk about what kind of skills you need to develop. National education policy says education needs to be contextualized. The context of education needs to be child-centered. Again and again, this term also is not new. Constructivist approach, when that came into our life with multiple intelligences of Gardner, we all have understood very well what is child-centeredness, what is activity-based, what is constructivist. Culturally responsive curriculum is very, very important. This is underlined statement of the documentation. Culturally responsive curriculum. You need to sustain the language. You need to sustain the mother tongue. You need to sustain the culture. You need to be responsive for the culture. And that cultural implementation, which is very, very important. And important thing which I have highlighted, higher order thinking skills are very important. Higher order thinking skills will come with brainstorming. I appreciate that today for this FDP, 4 to 5 colleges have put in together. They definitely must have brainstormed a lot how to proceed, how to go ahead about it. Maybe there is a mentor mentee relationship also. Maybe there is a kind of need which you need to cover up for NAC inspections also, whatever has been the basis of collaborations, but collaborations are going to be very, very in thing in the future. Collaborative learning, collaborative thinking, collaborative curriculum development, collaborative assessment, collaborative teaching learning strategies. So these are some of the things which are very, very important. We need to instill in our upcoming generation, upcoming teachers, and again we need to have a commitment with ourselves. Yes, we can do that. If the nation can do, if international platform can do, we as B.Ed colleges, we as teacher trainees, individually we need to feel, we need to, yes, interlinking is important, interlinking is required, interlinking needs to be done. One person, one strategy. If we come up with those kind of strategies and responsibly, if we take up as an endeavor that B.Ed colleges need to take up, we definitely can do that. We need to have better concern. We need to be having outstanding concern for making teacher education more effective. Intrinsic motivation, as I have already said it, it was a poll question for you all. Saving the time, I am giving the answer to that myself only. Last thing, if madam you allow me, I can be showing some of the e-portfolio samples of my students and samples of my college, how my students, or I can be, if we are through with the time, I can be posting that even on the WhatsApp group also. Before that, I will be glad if you have any questions for me before I say thank you to you all. I would like to take up some of the questions if some questions are there. Otherwise, I will be posting the two things which I have said to you. The rubrics I can be showing to you. E-portfolios also I can be to all the participants who are there in madam's WhatsApp group. I can be showing to you over there also. There were 74 slides. I probably had overtaken the time for that, but I am glad if you can ask some of the questions also. So I will stop sharing my screen, and it is all open to you. Platform is open to you. You can be asking the questions, maybe about the institutions, maybe about the rubrics, maybe about the internship, how we take it over. I would say what national policy of national education policy is telling us now to do, Bombay Teachers Training College is already doing that. We are strongly interlinked between our schools, colleges, and even the upcoming teacher institutions also. We have a memorandum of understanding also signed with the institutions, which is called free flow of intellectual ability. So faculty exchange, student exchange had been less possible because institutions are not responsible for other bona fide students of other institutions, which is little difficult in today's time also. But faculty exchange had been very, very successful. So these kind of interlinking, as I said it, that it is nothing new that National Policy 2020 is going to tell us to do that. It is prevalent. It is already existing. You definitely pay attention to your institution, and it is going to be very, very successful. And schools are definitely going to be very supportive for that. Yes, ma'am, over to you. If any questions or if any thing is there to be discussed.
Surely, ma'am. It was really enlightening, very informative, wonderful, great session. As you are seeing in the chat box, we are having very good response of this session. I request the participants, if anyone has any question, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question directly. Sushila ma'am, you want to say something? फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट में वी आर फॉर्चुनेट कि मैंने देखा डॉक्टर दीपाली चंडीगढ़ से मैम और सुशीला मैम सारा टाइम हमारे साथ बने रहे हैं प्रिंसिपल्स दे हैव आल्सो टेकन कीन इंटरेस्ट एंड दे हैव इवन अप्रिशिएटेड योर सेशन मैम.
Thank you so much for the feedback, ma'am. I hope all these participants are there in your approach. I have no hassles of sharing whatever the intellectual ability we have at our institute. The rubrics, although they call it institute, if they have 2-3 minutes more, I can be sharing.
We have, ma'am. Actually, we start the session at 4 and depends upon the resource person up to 6. Whatever time you want to take, it's upon you.
So give me 2 minutes, ma'am. I will
Sure,
just
sure.
share that also.
Sure. बोली ना हम. In the meantime, कोई अपनी observation देना चाहता है, कोई feedback देना चाहता है, तो most welcome. Yes, ma'am has come up with the e-portfolio.
So, ma'am, this is the e-portfolio. I could gather only few, so I'm just sharing that. So I converted that. Actually, students, they have their own either videos or something like that. So I converted that into PowerPoint presentation. So this is Bhavika Gyan Chandani. Ours is a Sindhi Minority Institute. So she is a Sindhi girl. She has written about herself, introduction, and she has mentioned qualification. Vision is very, very important. When students, they write own vision, and this is the index she has mentioned about her portfolio. So about her graduation, about biography, she has mentioned the word educational qualification from 10th onwards, and just recently in 21 she had currently studying. Now she has passed out and she has got a very good job also in international school and teaching philosophy. So these are some of the certificates which she has in street play 2014 and 15 and certificate of appreciation. So basically all what you call digitalization of your, he has scanned those certificates, has converted them in a small kind of audio and video. So I could, all the achievements are put up like this, which generally I would say like students when they go, they carry their file, they carry their certificate kind of documentation. Nowadays, when so much of it's happening online. So when in that kind of situation and some of the schools, they ask for their achievements before the placement. So Jugaad is one of the name of the event over here. So that's how Jashan is one of the competition. So whatever she has achieved, she has presented in the form of certificates. She was a council member at Bombay Teachers Training College. So there is the lesson plan material. Now she has converted her lesson plan also into digital form when she has taken. This shows somewhere, I think it should be 28 September it is mentioned, but it is not mentioned which year. So definitely it would be 2020 or 21. So the whole lesson plan she has converted into digital form and presented over there. And now there is where her rubrics is presented, and the scale of rubrics also is converted into digital form. So now some of the lesson plans, I will grow little faster. Now this is what is teacher observation. If you can read, I think the remarks are clear over here about the remarks. And
Please mic off कीजिए.
I think there is some correction from the participants. I request them to
Ranjana, please अपना mic off
mute
करो.
the participants. So this is what teacher observations are also scanned and presented over here. So about participation in the NGOs, and that's a mandatory part to be working during their B.Ed. They participate in non-government organizations also, and working with the underprivileged children also is the required. And cultural kaleidoscope is one of the activity which we have at Bombay Teachers Training College. So the previous activities, the current activities, and future vision that she has presented in her digital portfolio. So this digital portfolio is sent by the institution to the recruiters before. The schools where we want our students to be taking up their jobs. So we send these digital portfolios to the principals or to the HRs of international schools, national schools, wherever they are wanting to take a job. Our students, wherever they are wanting to take a job, these digital portfolios are forwarded by the principal, vice principal, or the recruitment in charges, and then their placement becomes more comparatively. So this is again a source or a process of linking between B.Ed colleges and the schools. That's how we work upon. So this was what I thought I must share with you, how digital portfolios are also very much helpful to Bombay Teachers Training College for the placement of our students. So the principals beforehand only, they filter, they scrutinize the students to whom they want to take up, and that's how they take up the placement with the institution, with the college.
Excellent. It was very nice, ma'am. It was quite motivating too.
So thank you, ma'am. If there are no more questions, if you all have any questions to me, I will be definitely anytime ready to share my expertise with all the participants.
Thank you so much. Over to Mrs. Rita. Yes, yes. Sushila, ma'am.
First of all, I would like to congratulate Tripta madam for hosting such a wonderful program and inviting Dr. Mandeep Kaur from Bombay. It was really, madam, very wonderful session, very well explained. I hope that all the participants have really beneficial from your talk. It was really well explained and very, fruitful for all the teachers. And the way you have explained rubrics and all, I really appreciate your effort, and thank you so much for benefiting us from your all this knowledge. And I hope that all the teachers have really benefited from your talk. Thank you so much for such a well explained talk. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sushila, ma'am. Over to Mrs. Rita.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mandeep, ma'am. It was really an enriching session. You very well explained about the interlinkage strategies for school education and teacher education through internship program, through e-portfolio, rubrics, etc. It was very enriching session, and your presentation was very creative and illustrative. And now, for summing up the session, I would like to call upon Gurpreet ma'am for national anthem and request all of you to stand for that.
Before that, I would just convey my humble thanks And ma'am, I am born and brought up in Ludhiana in Punjab. I love to interact with my state people, and anytime I am available for the people of Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, wherever up north, and it is my own state. Thank you, ma'am.
You're always welcome, ma'am. It's our pleasure that we are having resource persons like you. Ma'am, it was really marvelous session. We don't know how we have passed 2 hours with you, ma'am. Really, it was very, very motivating, energizing session. Thank you so much, ma'am,
But
for your expertise.
I wish to request also to visit to Mumbai. It is a beautiful city. It is a historical city, and I will love to host to all of you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your concern too.
Yes, for the national anthem, over to Gurpreet. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. See you tomorrow at the same time, at the same channel. Thank you, everyone.